Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Sales Development Podcast. I am honored to have my new friend that I've met within the last few months, mainly online. We haven't actually met in person, but Brandon Bornancin with Seamless. How you doing today, sir?
Hey, what's going on, David? Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, I'm stoked to get you on the show. I think what you guys are doing is awesome, and your story is incredible. So if folks out here on the West Coast have not interacted with you yet, tell us about, how you got into the whole sales development field and your journey to Seamless.ai.
Yeah, no problem, man. And I don't think my life is that sexy and that cool. If we were taping it, it'd be a bunch of us just in front of computers, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, prospecting, pitching, closing, building sales automation technologies. But I could give a quick overview. I'm Brandon Bornancin. Again, David, we're humbled to be here to chat with you today. I'm the CEO and founder of Seamless, where we're on a mission to empower the world to connect opportunity and help you maximize revenue, increase sales, and acquire your total addressable market instantly using artificial intelligence. And, my background, the quick elevator pitch was, my family was super poor. I grew up in Ohio, in Cleveland. That's like grind, that's not white collary, that's manufacturing. And, my mom worked at a grocery store. My dad worked in retail. They were super broke. And, I was poor growing up. I had massive t-shirts, shitty clothes. I just remember just being super broke. And, the kids would go to school with the Nike shoes, and I'd be wearing some shit that my mom got at Mark's or something like that. And I just remember always being like, damn, I want that type of life. And, when I was 15 or 16, so middle of high school, my dad was selling the first computers. So my dad went out of retail and started selling computers at Macy's. So he was selling the first Apple computers and the first PCs when they actually sold this shit in retail. Could you imagine going into Macy's and just seeing a bunch of computer and tech stuff now? I mean, the stories are just insane.
What is that?
So he was selling I forget what the Computer USA, or I forget what the store was a while ago. But then a small multi-billion-dollar company, but at the time it was just a few million, called CA Technologies, recruited my father to become an account executive, get out of retail and sell enterprise software. And CA Technologies was one of the first software companies that got to $1 billion in revenue. So my dad left retail computer sales at Macy's, joined CA Technologies, and over the next course of the next 3 to 5 years, my life completely changed. We went from being broke ass into shitty housing, into we kept moving every 2 to 3 years. So my dad's working for CA and he's crushing sales, traveling. He was on the road 5 days a week. My mom was a saint first off, but she was a single mother. And my dad was just a traveling, enterprise computer sales executive. And we went from super broke to him making over $500,000 a year. And I just saw our lives, go from 10 to 15 years old broke to my dad getting me, a Lexus when I was, able to drive. And then we moved into a mansion, and I could go to any college I wanted to. And I'm just how did we go from being super shitty, dead ass broke to wealthy, more wealthy, right? The top 1%. And, my dad preached to me about sales. Sales changed his life. Sales, you can do anything you want. You can make as much as you want, as long as you work your ass off. So at a very young age, when I was in high school, my dad's hey, he was always on the road, so I didn't get to interact with him a lot. But he started to teach me you can do anything you want to do. Never limit yourself. and learn how to sell. Because if you can learn how to sell, whatever you want to sell, if you can learn how to sell, you can learn how to do anything, or you can convince anyone to help you do anything. And after that, ended up that's kind of what started my career. When I went into college, I launched my first company.
That is amazing. I can tell through your story that you have a lot of pride in that story, in that you saw what, hard work and determination and ultimately learning sales could do for your family. And then you took that. So now you're in college and you're like, okay, how did you kind of take that and run with it?
Yeah. And I mean, like that's the great thing about hardship. So like if my family was super wealthy from the beginning, I guarantee you I wouldn't be where I'm at today. But like I remember my mom buying cans of food and feeding us and heating up these cans of food that were dog shit. And it sucked. And you just had to do what you needed to do to get by. But you learn from that and you realize like this is the life that I never want to have ever. So I got to do something to make sure that it never happens again. So, then, my dad goes into sales for CA Technologies. He was president club at CA Technologies for 11 years straight. So, as you can imagine, like being the top sales guy at CA Technologies, he was a top went from AE to vice president. He helped CA acquire like 15 companies. And the only reason why I talk about him is just because he's one of my mentors who taught me to work your ass off, never give up, and just don't have doubt, right? So when I went into college, I had this mindset of like, I could do anything I want. And I actually went into college to go into pre-law. I was like, you know what? I want to be a lawyer. I want to be the best lawyer and negotiator. And then I started studying political science and realized that like learning about the government and all these laws and reading 100-page laws was terrible. I wanted to kill myself. And when my freshman year, I was a big online poker player. So when I was playing a lot of online poker, I realized that I could recruit poker players. And every poker player that I recruited to join Party Stars, Full Tilt Poker, Party Poker, all the different sites, I'd get paid $100 to $200 cost per acquisition. So then I was like, well, shit, I was making a few $100 playing online poker. And then when I started recruiting people, I was making thousands. So I literally was like, okay, how do I get as many freaking people to sign up for Party Poker, Poker Stars, Full Tilt Poker as possible? So I literally created these little business cards and I knocked on dorm room to dorm room. There was like 50 dorm houses or whatever you call them. I don't even remember. And I would go dorm to dorm. Hey man, what's going on? It's Brandon. I'm with Party Poker. Hey, we got this big promotion. I'm going to give you $50 free. Let's get you on the site. And I would sell it so hard because I knew that hooking them up with $50 free to join Party Poker, Full Tilt Poker, you name it, I was going to make $150, profit $100 a head. So then I started like making thousands upon thousands in college. And I'm like, shit, this is my freshman year. I got to take this online. So then I took it online and I ended up, helping Party Poker generate 1.5 million my first year, 3 million my second year, and 6 million my third year. I was definitely like, and I don't say this egotistically, I just say it like, I was definitely the richest kid on campus. I bought myself at the age of 18 a 2-door hardtop Mercedes convertible. I had bought myself a vacation property in Florida. So when school was out in college, I wouldn't even go home. So I told my parents like, hey, when school's out, because I went to Ohio University. It was the #1 rated party school at the time. So that's why I went there. I'm from Ohio, #1 party school. That's the perfect place for me. Ended up going there, and they had a big 8-week winter break. So during winter break, I would leave Ohio, live in Florida for 8 weeks, run my business, and then come back. And I didn't really see my parents just because I was running the company and traveling and whatnot.
Nice.
But that's the first time that I saw the power of sales. Like, dude, had this idea, online marketing for this company, selling for them essentially. And, you just got to find a great product, figure out how to sell it, and hustle your ass off. So I did that for 3 years when I was in school. And then they made online gambling illegal. So literally the whole market in the US, I didn't like lose anything. It just stopped. It'd be like people were mailing you checks and then it just fucking stops. And you're like, God, you're like, damn it. So then I'm like, okay. And of course, like when you have that type of success, you're like, oh yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. I know how to start any company, right? So I ended up I'm a genius, made a ton of cash, more than what the majority of people make like in their full-time careers in 5 years. And you're just like, okay. So I'm like, I'm going to start this new company, mobile marketing, called InMobile. And this was like 10 to 12 years ago when there were still flip phones. I was like, text message marketing and mobile websites on flip phones are going to be the next big thing. And I took all my money. Like I'm an all-in guy. Like I'm an all-in salesperson, all-in entrepreneur. So I took everything I had that I made from the poker stuff, the poker business, and I invested in mobile. And I brought on a bunch of co-founders. We hired 15 people. And we were running this text message software company. And that was the first time I realized like the big importance of sales, because we couldn't find anyone to buy the damn mobile software. Like we were pitching all these companies, all these brands like, hey, vitamin water. Hey, Victoria's Secret. Hey, Walmart. Hey, Starbucks. You need to be talking to your customers via text message marketing and a short code. And people were like weary to spend a lot of money with a bunch of kids out of in college. They're not going to do $100,000 to a $500,000 deal with you, with like 10 kids in a, working out of a small office in Athens, Ohio. So it was really hard for us to build the software and to sell the software. And it was the longest 3 years of my life. So I put in 10x the amount of effort in mobile than I did into the party poker business. Then I made 10x less the amount of money in the mobile business and just couldn't sell it. We acquired like 50 companies, but $1,000 a company per month compared to like the expenses and everything else, you're getting hammered. So we ended up, my co-founder and I, Jake Phillips, who's actually now my chief operating officer at Seamless, we got approached by a company out in New York that was like, hey, you guys know how to sell mobile. We've got a really badass technology for mobile. We want to acquire you and your book of business. It was basically an acqui-hire. They're like, hey, your technology is kind of shitty, but you guys hustle. So we'll acquire you and we want you to open up our New York City office. So it was funny. My co-founder still had another year in college. So he's like, hey, Brandon, you go. I'm going to finish college. Jake's like, you go. I'll finish college. So I ended up moving to New York and opening up this mobile office in New York for a year. And then after that, Jake went to IBM Interactive. So one of my co-founders went to IBM Interactive, recruited me to join IBM in sales as a sales director. And that's, at IBM when I was selling for 3 to 4 years, the Fortune 500, $500,000 million deals to manage all of their digital marketing and all of their web development. So we were going after Google, Amazon, IBM, Dell, all these massive companies to do all their online marketing and to also do all their web development or assist with their web development. And those enterprise deals are massive and long sales cycles. And I was doing a lot of sales development work, all my own prospecting, pitching, and closing. And then after IBM Interactive, I was there for 3.5 years, did tens of millions of worth of deals there. I ended up wanting to go into search marketing, Google search, because I realized like, dude, search marketing is easy. You spend $1, you get X amount of clicks translate to Y amount of conversions. Y amount of conversions generates Z revenue. Dude, selling search marketing and stuff that is like so mathematical driven is so easy. If you give me $100, I will give you back $150. Like that's the easiest sell in the world versus selling web development. David wants a new website for a sales development conference. I'm telling him it's going to be $100,000 and you ask me what the ROI is. pitching you what the ROI is of a website that we're going to develop is very untangible. It's very difficult to translate. This is the exact revenue results we're going to be able to drive. So I'm like, I got to get out of web development. It's great. I'm making a lot of money, but I can make more money in search. So I went into search, and that's, at the end tail of IBM, when I was prospecting and researching hundreds of people. And then I went into this Google search agency and I was prospecting like hundreds of people a day. I needed to automate all of my research, all of my sales list building, my prospecting, my appointment setting, my CRM data entry. And I built Seamless to help me sell. And this isn't a pitch for Seamless. This is just like, hey, I needed to sell.
You had a problem.
Built this little prototype to help me sell. And I immediately was doubling my income like every 3 months. I kept, basically over the course of my tenure at the Google search firm, I 10x'd my income and became a millionaire using Seamless as my own weapon, as my own secret sauce. And I didn't want anyone to use it, but then
secret.
Yeah, it was like my secret little weapon. And then my employer is like, hey, you're outperforming your teammates by like 5x, and you're the number one sales guy year over year, like by massive numbers that we've never seen before. These are record sales numbers. What the hell are you doing? And I'm like, well, look, I use this tool, Seamless. It was called Seamless Contacts at the time. Now it's Seamless.ai. I was like, I use this platform. I built it. You could use it too. So then I ended up selling everyone on my team licenses to Seamless. And then they started crushing their quota. And I'm like, dude, Seamless helped me become a millionaire. Like I wanted to help advertisers like maximize their potential in search. But now I'm like, damn, now I want to help every sales and marketing professional in the world connect to opportunity. I want to help them maximize their potential. I want to help them acquire new business faster than ever before. I want to help them make all their dreams come true. I want to help them pay for their kids' college. I want to help them fucking buy that next house. Like, I was just like, I became obsessed with like, dude, if I could do it, I am not a smart guy. If I could do it, David could do it. Sean could do it. Alex could do it. Shannon could do it. Sarah could do it. And took all the cash I made becoming a millionaire at using Seamless. And I took all that cash and bootstrapped into building our Seamless search engine. And, building a search engine is the worst idea in the world. Like, it's really fucking hard. Don't ever ask a sales guy to like build a search engine, because it's really difficult, time consuming, and expensive. But long story short, after 3 brutally long years of development, we've been able to build Seamless, which is a search engine to help you, find everyone in your total addressable market, find the contact information for your total addressable market, and then acquire your total addressable market using artificial intelligence. And now we've got a team of 15, and we help thousands of companies generate millions in revenue, which is really exciting. And that's the story.
I want to hear about your journey over the last 3 years. That is really interesting, because the theme that I keep seeing is you're making massive bets. Like you're getting your winnings, you're sitting down and you're going, okay, what's my next challenge? I'm going to bet. And now you're betting on Seamless. You've been working on it for 3 years. But the first thing I want to ask you is, what was it like going from a very entrepreneurial journey and then working for a huge company? There can be no bigger company than IBM, right? I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, in the old days, it was a big company. I don't know how big it is now, but what was that transition like of being an entrepreneur and figuring all your stuff out to then working for a big company?
Demand. Yeah. So like what's amazing about sales is like, sales is like being an entrepreneur without having to worry about all the bullshit. So you get all the upside of making a ton of money, and you eliminate all the downside. Like, I'm a big like, if you add like, Seamless is uber successful or not uber successful, I would go into sales next time. Like, anyone asked me like, what would you do next? I'd be like, I would go into sales, cut out all the bullshit that you have to deal with as an entrepreneur, and just crush as many deals as possible, make as much money as possible, and not have to worry about all the operations, customer success, investors. There's so much stuff that takes up your time, where when I stopped being an entrepreneur and went into sales, like, it's just like being an entrepreneur, just you get more time to sell versus worry about all the other bullshit. So I loved it.
I literally have a stack of contracts sitting at my desk and I'm going, God, you know what I mean? It's like I have to read through all these. So I feel you, it's like if you could just spend your time in sales mode and have all this other crap like taken care of, oh my God, it sounds like
It'd be amazing. Like, yeah. I look back and I'm like, wow, like I wanted to leave, making that much money to do this. Like, why? But my mission on helping the world, empowering the world to connect to opportunity is more important than anything else to me personally right now in my life. So it's worth it. But, going from a startup to IBM Interactive. So when I was running the mobile company, the mobile marketing company, I would dream to manage mobile marketing for all these massive Fortune 100, Fortune 500 brands. So then when IBM Interactive is like, hey, you get to work with the largest technology companies in the world and sell to them, managing all their online marketing, and sell to them managing all their web development or a portion of their web development and online marketing. It was like a dream come true to me, because I'm like, damn, I always wanted to work with Google. I always wanted to work with Amazon. I always wanted to work with Dell. I always wanted to work with Apple. And IBM Interactive is working with all these brands. And I get to go in there, meet with all the CMOs, meet with the VPs of marketing, VPs of digital, director of acquisition, SEO, paid search. So for me, it was a pretty seamless transition. And also, I just came off of a 3-year bender where I worked my ass off, made 10x less the money I made previously, worked 10x harder. And I was pissed that this second venture didn't work out. And in that second venture, it got so bad where I was stealing food to eat out of my startup incubator's fridge. I remember it got so bad. My family, I was on, different terms with my family, couldn't ask them for money. I would paid everyone and had zero money in my bank account and couldn't even eat for weeks at a time. And I just remember taking food out of the incubator fridge to eat at night. And my fiance, who was my girlfriend at the time, actually would buy me food, have it delivered to the office because she knew I was dead ass broke. So that experience, you're like, dude, how did I go from rich to broke? That sucks.
You're not selling me on entrepreneurship, man.
To be honest, I want to sell you on sales is the best career in the world, because it is. And if I could do it again, I'd stick with selling. So anyways, I just want people to realize the hardship, right? Because you read about the bullshit about Zuckerberg and, Reid Hoffman and all these guys. First off, all these guys had great connections, were in great spots, great families. They worked their asses off. They're geniuses. I'm not putting them down, but the 99% of normal people aren't going to have all the money in the world, all the connections in the world. You're going to have to work your ass off, and you're going to have to do it bootstrapped, and it's terrible. And that's why you got to just work 24/7 on your dream, on your mission, on your vision, and you're going to hit 1,000 failures. You just can't quit until you get there. But selling at IBM was awesome. I had all the resources in the world, all the connections in the world. The only thing that I didn't like was the sales cycles were, 6 months to a year. They were massive. At IBM Interactive, you have to work with 30 internal stakeholders. So I was doing so much outside selling to brands that then when I finally got an opportunity, I would have to sell to 30 people internally that this was a deal that we needed to do. And that's exhausting. You find a hot opportunity, you just want to pitch it and close it. But it was a great run. It taught me how to run the enterprise pursuit perfectly. And then I took everything that I learned from that to crush $100,000 to $500,000 to $1 million deals at the search agency at Fathom. So, it just helped. Everything gives you the next thing that you need to get to the next level.
Yeah, it's funny because you would think that going from the freedom of entrepreneurship to an IBM would be constricting. But it sounds like as a salesperson, as a professional salesperson, it was actually kind of freeing to you to have all those hassles taken care of so you could focus on sales. But then there was sort of the bureaucracy that you still had to deal with. You learn that, and now you bring it forward into your career.
Yeah, like I'm not a political guy. Like if you follow me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, I am me. I don't like to put a bullshit facade on. Like I'm me 1,000%. So like I don't play the politics game. And IBM, they love politics. They love money more than politics, which is good. That was in my favor. But I just didn't like the whole internal selling and all that jazz and getting everyone on board. Like, guys, we need to drive hundreds of millions in revenue, get the whole band on board, and let's figure out the best pursuit plan to get all executives, stakeholders, users, influencers to buy into this at the brand. And then let's get this $5, $10, $20 million deal signed. So, good part about the Fathom search agency, there was no bureaucracy. That was the most entrepreneurial it was. It was like, hey, we're a mid-market search agency. We're kind of doing things as a standalone AE. So the AE would do all the inside selling, all the outside selling. And I came there and I'm like, hey, let's build out this inside sales team because you can't scale predictable revenue. And right when I joined the search agency, Aaron Ross published his book, Predictable Revenue. And I'm like, fuck, this is awesome. I've been trying to sell my company to build an inside sales team to keep the pipeline filled so that we could pitch and close 24/7. And then, just basically took predictable revenue to my chief revenue officer. I'm like, dude, this is exactly what I've been saying. This is exactly what we need to do. And my CRO at the time was super entrepreneurial too. He came from Nielsen. Jeff, he's a game changer. He's like one of those bosses that's a game changer. SDR, sales development peeps, make sure that you're surrounded by the right boss. Because if the right boss doesn't go to bat for you, doesn't have your back, doesn't let you try new things, you're not going to be successful at that gig. Like at IBM Interactive,
Amen.
I had some okay leadership, right? But they were not like in my band. They were looking out for them, right? For them to maximize their success. When I went to Fathom, the Google search agency, Jeff was like, Brandon, I'm here to help you be successful. When we would have wins, he took 0% of the credit. And he's like, I take 0% credit. This is because of Brandon. This is because of his SDRs, and I just learned from Jeff, like, holy shit, like this is how you become a great leader. Like I wanted to work 24/7 for Jeff, my chief revenue officer. And he went to bat for me. I was doing some crazy shit at the search agency, like super aggressive, tons of outbound prospecting, selling, emailing, calling, voicemails, videos, social touches. Like, some prospects would get pissed that I was so aggressive. Some, 95% of them appreciated the hustle. 5% of them hated the hustle, would bitch to my team about it. Then my team would go to my chief revenue officer, and my chief revenue officer would be like, do you want Brandon to continue to generate millions in revenue? Like, do you want Brandon to continue to break records we've never seen before? Like, of course, when you run really, really fast, you're going to like break some things along the way. Like, do you want to go really fast and hit a $100 million company? Or do you want to go slow, not break anything, be super sensitive, and get to 10 million? Like, I'd rather go fast, screw shit up along the way, fix them, figure out how to fix them and optimize. And that's what we did. And luckily, the team at Fathom empowered me to like build Seamless, sell it to them at Seamless. And then, we ended up launching Seamless full time, and they were huge advocates of that. Because
sorry.
I was just going to say both me and a few of my partners in the business, came from Fathom, and, we went full time on Seamless.
And now you're bringing that culture, I would assume, to Seamless as you build, the culture over there, move fast, break things, get out there, get in the market, get beat up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm still trying to learn from my mentors of like how to empower people, let them take a ton of risks, let them take a ton of chances, don't micromanage, so I'm big on that. I'm also big on assuming responsibility for all failures and never assuming responsibility for our successes. Like, if we win a big deal, I do not give a shit if I get credit for it. Like, I want to give all the credit to my SDRs who hustled their ass off, 100 calls, emails, social touches, videos, you name it, to book 1,000 appointments, which led to that big deal. I want to give the credit to the AE that chased that opportunity for 3 months, 57 calls, 45 emails, 10 business cases. Like, dude, that wasn't me. That was the team. So we take that culture and, I think the biggest thing that I'm still trying to master is just making sure I don't like micromanage, because like I love sales so much that I have a certain way of doing it, but I want my team to develop a mix of their own way plus the way that we know works well.
August 30th, 2018, San Francisco. The Sales Development Conference. The first and only live conference 100% focused and dedicated to sales development. Join over 300 of the top minds in sales development for a full day of learning, forging new relationships, and creating the next generation of sales development excellence. This year, we have dedicated tracks for sales development leadership, as well as a track for individual sales development representatives, including a full day of ultra-useful hands-on training. Bring your whole team to get the tools, research, and connections you need to accelerate your career and push your sales development program forward. Accelerate your growth at the Sales Development Conference 2018. Go to tenbound.com/conference to get your tickets today. That's tenbound.com/conference.
Man, I love this guy. You got any job openings? I want to work for you.
It'd be probably easier than doing your own thing, right? Because we know how hard the entrepreneurial grind is.
I want to try it out. So I got to ask you this. I originally connected with you or saw you on a video where you were talking to Grant Cardone, or Uncle G, as we call him, the mentor of so many millions. So tell us about how you got in front of him and how that whole thing unfolded.
Yeah, no. So, one of my other mentors is definitely Grant Cardone. I've got a few very select mentors, and, Grant's massive now, but I became close with him and Jared. Jared Glantz, his right-hand man, VP of sales, really took the company to the next level alongside with Grant, who blew up the entire business. But 5, 7, 10 years ago, it was a small auto car dealer training sales system. And this is another thing, the importance for the sales development crew out there. When I got into sales at IBM Interactive, I bought 123 different sales books. Literally, like every single fucking sales book you could find on anywhere. But before they didn't really have, Amazon was fairly new. So I was buying these books at Barnes & Nobles. I was buying these books at I forget what the bookstores are called. Now it's just Amazon. But I bought every single sales book. And the reason why I did that was because when I started to play poker, Texas Hold'em, when I got into poker when I was 18, I was like, hey, I'm going to go play poker and I'm going to learn how to play poker, playing poker real time, right? And then I would play poker and I'd get my freaking ass kicked and lose $500, $1,000. And I would go every weekend. I'd play poker with my buddies and I'd lose $500 to $1,000 a week. And I'd be like, this is so stupid. Why am I trying to learn how to play Texas Hold'em with a bunch of experts that already know how to play Texas Hold'em? So I'm like, I got to do something different. I bought every single book on how to play Texas Hold'em. And then I started applying the statistics, the strategies, everything I learned from these books to become a great Texas Hold'em poker player. And then I started generating 500% increase in ROI on Texas Hold'em, 1,000% increase in ROI on playing Texas Hold'em. I saw my income dramatically increase 10x because I learned how to play Texas Hold'em before I started playing Texas Hold'em. So I just took that same approach to sales. Like, okay, I'm going full time at sales. I don't know anything about enterprise sales because before at the poker, my poker startup, that was consumer sales. At the mobile marketing startup, that was like mid-market sales, software sales. But at IBM, I'm like, shit, I don't know how to sell CMOs of the largest companies in the world. So I just started reading all the sales books out there. And when you start reading and skilling up, you figure out everything you need to do. You realize that sales is a game of chess. Sales is a game of Texas Hold'em. There's always the right best next move to make, but you need to have the knowledge to know how to make it. For example, in sales, you're going to run into the same objections every time. I'm not interested. I already work with someone. Need to talk to my boss. Not a good time. Call me back later. Send me more information. I need to talk to my wife. You're going to run into this. It's too expensive. I'm not interested. Unsubscribe. Never call me back again. You're going to run into the same 15, 20, 30 objections in sales. So when you start reading, you start realizing how to play the game of chess, how to play the game of Texas Hold'em. And then you could play it better than anyone else, or at least you could play it as best as the top people in that field. So I bought all these books, right? And I was like, dude, I'm going to buy a bunch of these sales books in the car dealership industry because the car salesmen, they're super aggressive. And I'm like, but every time I go into a car dealer, especially a car manufacturer that I like, and I'm a big Mercedes guy, they always get me to buy a car, or I want to buy that car. I'm like, they're pretty freaking good at selling. So I came across a few of Grant Cardone's books 10 years ago, read them, and my sales dramatically increased. And, I reached out to Grant and Jared, became really close with them, talked about how it impacted me in B2B sales. And it was funny when I was leaving, so I became really close with Jared and Grant because, again, back then it was a small company. And, when I was looking to go Seamless full time, Jared and Grant said, hey, they gave me an offer letter. We want you to move to Miami. We want you to run GCTV.com. And I was in this split roads of okay, I'm either going to go full time on Seamless.ai, or I'm going to go sell for Grant, run his ad network, his TV network, blow it up, which I was really excited about because I was such a fan of his content and his expertise. And I was 29 years old. And when Grant was 29 years old, he quit his job to go full time on running his own business. And I was thinking well, if I go work for Grant, I could do Seamless.ai part time. And I know Grant just from hanging with him and hanging with Jared. There's no way that Grant's going to let me work on Seamless full time. I'm sorry, part time. He's going to need me 1,000% dedicated to growing, the network, right? GCTV.com. And my fiance are like, dude, you're ready to go back to launch your third company. You got everything you need. And, I declined the offer. I declined the offer, decided not to move down to Miami. Again, though, I love selling. I wish the opportunity came to me 5 years prior. I was just already working on Seamless, needed to go full time on Seamless. And I just said to myself, what would GC do? GC at the age of 29 went all in, gave it his all, worked his freaking ass off, 10x'd his goals, growth goals, everything. And I just applied that same mindset. I was like, all right, I'll promote you guys. I'm a fan. I'll be a referral partner. Unfortunately, I just got to go all in on Seamless. I can't look back and say, what if I went all in on Seamless?
And now you've got a few years behind you. How do you feel about the decision?
Oh, dude, the hardest, best decision of my life. Building a search engine AI company as a technically non-technical founder. I worked at IBM Interactive. I worked with Google. So I know a lot about software development and digital marketing and databases. And, I've got my MBA in undergrad. So I've got a lot of intelligence, but I'm not a full-time computer science guy, right? I'm a sales 24/7 guy. So building a search engine and building an AI platform is very difficult. And, the good news is my mentors, like Grant, like Jared, like Jeff, and a few others, they taught me have the 10x mindset. It will take fucking 10 years to build this thing big. And I guarantee you, anyone in my position would have quit 6 months in, 1 year in, 1.5 years in, 2 years in. I mean, I had the worst stuff happen to me. I hired a CTO that stole from me $100,000 and totally screwed us over. I had, people, just salespeople stealing from the company. Like I've just had like the worst shit happen to us. The technology, we'd had to rebuild it 3 times. We would rebuild it for a year, realize it, a lot of things, and then we'd have to rebuild it for scale. Then when you rebuild it, you realize you missed a few things, and then you got to rebuild it again for mass scale. Because we got tens of thousands of people on our search engine that are searching millions of people a day. Like the amount of data and servers and, asynchronous API calls that are going on in the real-time AI research, like it's just insane, right? And Twitter and all these top software, social networks, data companies, they all did the same thing. They rebuilt their platform 2, 3, 5 times. Shit, they're still doing it. But, with it, like I launched Seamless initially on my own as a sole entrepreneur. And I think that was great, but if I could do it again, I would start from the beginning with a few technology co-founders. Now I've got a whole team, right? I've got 4 engineers. I've got a COO. I've got 5 to 7 salespeople. I've got a marketing team, which is great. But those 3 years, were hell. And you just got to focus on the long term. Hey, we want to positively impact 1 billion people. Hey,
Nice.
How do we help the economy generate billions in revenue? Because it's too damn time consuming, expensive, and difficult for companies to acquire new clients. And that passion, that mission, I'm obsessed with this problem. How do we help people connect with everyone faster than ever before? Because I can help David find a new job that will change his freaking life. I can help David connect to someone that allows him to get into a college, to get into an Ivy League school, to pay for his kids, school, buy their house. We've just got this really big purpose-driven mission. And I know sales creates economy. Sales makes dreams come true. If we can build this platform that will empower you to connect with anyone faster than ever before and acquire your total addressable market instantly, it's game over. And, not game over as like an exit for the company, but that's when I could step back and say, damn, dude, we freaking accomplished the mission.
I did something. Dude, okay, so I love it. This guy's obsessed, man. Be obsessed or be average, right? And, if people aren't familiar with the whole 10X philosophy, I mean, you basically are living it. What is, tell us about the 10X philosophy and bring it back to all the shit that you've had to go through in building up your company.
Yeah. And there's so many amazing sales authors out there that have taught me a lot, Jill Conrath, Aaron Ross, there's so many, Brandy, there's hundreds of great sales authors, Mike Brooks, but when it came to hustle, I was always criticized throughout my life because I wanted and loved to work my ass off. When I was in college,
that's weird. My
roommates, my friends would criticize me because instead of being out, and I partied really hard, right? But I was just I would do it strategically. I'd work my ass off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, put in 8 hours during the day and then go out at night. My friends would criticize me hey, why don't you want to play video games? Why don't you want to do this? I'd just be hustling, building the business. My family criticized me. My, girlfriends criticized me that I cared too much about money, cared too much about working, cared too much about accomplishing this dream of life that I always wanted. And I just hated feeling like I was this fucking outlier. Why am I the only person that is not happy with a 9-to-5 average life? And there's nothing wrong with that life, right? I'm not criticizing anyone, just me personally. I've always been super, I've just got these big goals and super motivated, where when I met Grant and what he believed in, it was the first person my whole life that thought as big and bigger and 10X bigger than I could ever think of. And then he coached me to realize I'm thinking way too small. And, that 10X mindset is all about just create massive goals, like shit that you think would never happen before. I never thought that Seamless would research 750 million contacts, 150 million domains, 30, 40 million companies. And a year ago, we researched 5 million contacts using the Seamless platform and 2 million companies. But because we're like, dude, we got to 10x our goals every year. We were able to massively grow our real-time search engine, our real-time database. We were able to 10x our revenue. We were able to 10x the users acquired. And it's just about setting massive goals to, 5 to 10x the goals, and then figuring out what's the daily activity that you need to hit those goals. And figure out, don't look at the daily activity that leads to that annual goal as paralyzing. Look at that freaking daily activity and figure out, what do I need to do to execute it? For example, we want to be doing 10 million in revenue. And I've got a team of 10 to 15. If we were doing 10 million in revenue, we'd be valued at 100 million. It would just be awesome. It'd be insane. And I look at the activity, we'd have to be giving 1,000 demos a day, right, to hit the 10 million in revenue. And I don't look at it fuck, we're never going to do that. I look at the 1,000 demos and I'm like, okay, how do I do that?
How?
Okay, to do 1,000 demos a day, and the number's not 1,000. I'm just using it as a number. Let's just pretend it's 100 demos a day. Okay, we need to prospect 100,000 people to do 100 demos. Okay, well, how do you prospect 100,000 people a day? How many AEs would you need to give that many demos? Okay, you would need, if you need 50 SDRs, we would need 20 to 30 AEs. You just figure out what's the math, and then you figure out how to execute it and make it happen. And we're nowhere near where we want to be. We're not impacting 1/1,000,000th the amount of people that we want to impact. But, we know we're going to get there if we never quit. And I think my biggest piece of advice is believe in yourself. You can freaking do it. Set massive goals. Be relentless with learning what you need to learn to get to where you need to go, and execute, hustle your ass off. And especially for sales development, if you're not prospecting 100 people, 100 calls, 100 emails, social touches a day, you're not going to make the amount of income that you want to make. And I would probably recommend do a lot more than that. Figure out how you can do more than that. Whatever the number one guy is doing at the company, figure out how to do 10x more than that. And then do it. However hard you think you're pushing yourself, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. I never compared myself to one of the people at the companies that I worked at. I compared myself to the billionaires, the mega multimillionaires. How do I become them? Don't compare your friends. Don't use your friends and people that you work with as the base layer of where you want to be. Compare yourself to dude, Elon Musk is creating freaking spaceships, is creating electric cars. I try to compare myself to Elon Musk. How is this guy building rocket ships? And I still have not learned how to program. How do I not know how to fucking learn how to program? And this guy's building rockets. Am I that lazy? Am I that lazy to not do that? So you just got to hold yourself highly accountable and cut out all the bullshit. Stop making excuses. Grind your ass off. Learn, read as much as possible, and crush it. Go all in every day. If you want to become a millionaire, which I've done over and over again, you need to fucking work your ass off.
Nice, dude. Hey, let's put a point on that, man. That is it. And, one thing about the 10X, philosophy is also, it's dude, people don't realize how much work is going to go into a project, and then they give up on it. They kind of give up on themselves. So if you go into a project thinking dude, I need to 10X my shit, then you're not going to give up, because you know that you have to put in that work and work your freaking face off to make it possible, right?
Yeah. I mean, you got to work so hard. If you think you're working really hard, you're probably not even 1/10 of working as hard as you need to work. But I also recommend smart working, right? If you're smart working, if you're just spraying and praying thousands of prospects with a shitty email, that's not smart working hard, right? I'm saying okay, figure out who your ideal customer personas are, the managers, directors, VPs. write the messaging specific to the persona, execute the call scripts, the voicemail scripts, the email scripts, the social scripts, the videos. Make sure all those messaging add value to your prospects. It's not about you. No one gives a shit about you. How are you going to change your prospect's life? Like, doing all of that takes a lot of hard work. Then once you have that done, then you got to call and sell to 1 million people. That takes a lot of hard work. So don't be stupid. Don't work hard, unintelligently.
Right.
Work hard, smart, and execute really hard and go really big and ask for advice along the way and find some great mentors. And in the sales world, you'll make it. And if you never quit and you're always open to feedback and advice and learning and applying new principles and technologies and ideas, you'll always be successful because you'll always be open-minded.
Yes. Yeah. I already know that, or I already do that, is like the worst thing that you can hear when you're talking to somebody, because it's just like, dude, this guy's not coachable.
Dude, one of the reasons why my chief revenue officer loved working with me was because I would listen to every word that he would say, because I knew this guy did 100 million in deals, right? And I'm like, how do I do 100 million in deals? And I would just hey, Jeff, this is how I want to go after this deal. This is how we're going to close this $10 million pursuit or this $1 million pursuit. Get his feedback, his advice on prospecting. You got to be so coachable and, just be open to any idea and let data rule the ideas. I don't care if David's got the best idea or if I've got the best idea. I just care about what converts to book more appointments. What converts to book more appointments to close deals? I don't care if it's David's subject line, if it's Brandon's subject line, if it's Mark's subject line, if it's Jill Conrad's, if it's, any, Coca Sexton's subject line. Aaron Ross says, open the cold calls this way, but the guys over here at Connect and Sell say do it that way. I don't give a shit. I'll try them all and figure out what works the best based on data. Use data to inform everything. Don't use your gut. And that's what I learned in digital marketing at IBM and Google. You got to use data to optimize everything you do. In sales development, use data to freaking tell you what's working and what's not. No one gives a shit about your opinion. Use the data to optimize and close more business.
Nice. So, Brandon, dude, this is amazing. I got a lot of good advice for the listeners, and I appreciate you being on. We're up against the hour. How can people learn more about Seamless and get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'd love to connect with you all on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Please feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I'm also right on the Seamless.ai website. For all the listeners too, we're going to give you guys a free $1,000 license. So, David, what's the referral code that they should use? Sales Development Conference, or what's the podcast referral code? You think of that while I'm talking, but guys, we're going to give you $1,000 to the Seamless.ai platform. We're trying to positively impact 1 million people and generate billions in revenue in the global economy. We can't do that without you using the platform, giving us feedback, giving us advice to help you find your total addressable market, contact your total addressable market, and acquire your total addressable market instantly using artificial intelligence. So I'd love to give you guys all free licenses. I'd love to get you on the platform. I'd love to help you crush your quota, maximize your revenue, find your next biggest customer so that you can buy that car, buy that house, get that, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever your goals are. We're here to help you accomplish that. So connect with us on Seamless.ai, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, you name it.
Yeah, and let's put in for the code SD Podcast. SD Podcast.
So
SD Podcast.
Yep. Perfect. You go to the website, seamless.ai, you register, put in SD Podcast. We will make sure you get hooked up, $1,000 on me, and let's make some money. Let's help you make some money. Let's help you make 2018 your biggest and best year yet.
Dude, I'm going to go sign up, man. I got 2 kids in private school, man. Let's help me make those payments.
Help me pay for help me help you pay for your kids' private schools.
All right, man. Well, thank you. Thanks for sharing your knowledge with everybody. Everybody go on seamless.ai, put in SD Podcast, get that trial going. And Brandon, thanks again, man. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Development Podcast. the only audio forum 100% focused and dedicated to sales development, with your host, David Delaney. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on YouTube and take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes. Your support makes our show possible. If you are struggling with your sales development program, contact us at TENBOUND.com for a no-obligation exploratory call. Again, that's TENBOUND.com.